Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to the channel. I am so excited you're here. Okay, just making sure everything was set up on YouTube. We're good to go. My God, I'm exhausted. Have y'all been feeling just intense upheaval, change, chaos, emotional pressure, frustration, challenges, conflict over the last 2 weeks? Because I absolutely have. And it is hitting me. It is affecting me. Um, Stressed, tired, all the things. But I look to the astrology for guidance of how and when this is all going to shift and improve and what it's really pushing us towards, because I am an evolutionary astrologer. This is what I teach in my Become an Astrologer course, is how to view astrology from the lens of growth, positivity, evolution, the highest of everything that is happening and what it is pushing you towards that is a more positive change and evolution in your life than what you have been previously living, right? Viewing it from a lens of healing, of growth, of positive changes, despite the just the challenges and the negativity that we may be facing along the way of that or during that change, right? Change is uncomfortable, change is hard, change is not easy. I mean, I have been using this analogy a lot lately. I feel like in my classes, my videos, and my content of like, it's like when you move homes, it's like one of the hardest things that a human can experience, other than maybe like divorce or the death of a direct family member. Like, there's so much to do, there's so much going on, and it's incredibly stressful, and it's kind of nonstop until you're settled and moved into your new place, which can take weeks or months, depending on, the logistics of everything, right? And it's a big change, is a big stressor, but usually it's because of a positive reason, right? We're either moving to be in a better location or a better home or whatever it is. It's usually positive, right? But it is hard in the moment. It is challenging, but it is getting you to a better place. And that's what these transits are really pushing us to right now. Especially this week. This week is kind of like the culmination of everything. We start the week off with the new moon in Gemini. We're going to have a conjunction between Venus and Chiron come the end of the week. And I will say that this week is a lot more chill than the last couple weeks have been. The last couple weeks have been nonstop. It's been every day there's something. But when I was putting together my day-to-day overview that's on my TikTok, that's linked in the description, that I also send out to my newsletter, when I was putting that together, the culmination is like Monday and then the weekend, but the kind of things going on throughout the week aren't a super big deal. Like, they're not as intense or overwhelming or conflicting or challenging as things have been the last couple weeks, I will say. So this week, kind of like the meat of the week gave kind of like boring. But I do think we're going to see a lot of resolution around things we've been needing resolution around. Maybe some accountability happening around those things, some things moving forward to support that happening. Later this summer, we're going to have a square between Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune, which is going to kind of force that too. So, I gave an overview of all of that in my 2025 update that is in my inner circle. The vault of my inner circle is where that overview lives. I think it was like 2 hours of 2025 content, because 2025 is a big year. There's a lot ending, as I've been talking about in my recent YouTube videos that I've been posting here. There's a lot ending. There's a lot that's closing out of a chapter, out of a cycle, and we're going to start to really see that come to a head and a fruition this week. Like, this week is really where the cycle ends and the new beginning is like really presented to us in a way we've been maybe waiting for quite some time, maybe for even the last 2 to 3 years of like, oh my God, why am I still in this cycle? But it's all kind of coming to a head, like I said, this week is what it feels like. And yeah, that feels really big. So, like I said, we're gonna have the new moon to start the week off, and then we're gonna have it's gonna be on Mercury as well. So, big themes of communication, belief system shifts, mindset shifts, and then towards the end of the week, we are gonna have the Venus Chiron conjunction, which is really going to trigger this new sense of embodiment and self-worth in the values that we have changed or shifted about ourselves and our lives and our relationships, especially maybe even things around money, 2. So that's an overview of the week. Like I said, if you want the play-by-play of each day, I do that on my TikTok and I send it out to my newsletter. Links are in the place where the links always are. But let's get into the horoscope for each of you. We'll start with Aries as always. So, Aries, Saturn is in your first house now on Neptune. I mean, there's this big wake up call around your sense of self, your identity, your appearance. The new moon is going to be in your third house of communication, of day to day errands, of what you're doing on a daily basis, how you're organizing your life. Maybe socializing too might be getting a kind of focus of like, okay, how do I want to approach this in my life? What do I want to change? What do I want to do differently? Like I said, the middle of the week is there's really not a whole lot going on. I mean, we will have the new moon harmonizing with Pluto in your 11th house. So again, there could be this big need to set new intentions around a community, around where you're going and who you're talking to, what you're doing on a daily basis kind of thing that revolves around the people you want to be around. Then on Wednesday, you're going to have the moon move over Jupiter in your third house. Again, amplifying that. How can you really surround yourself with people or do things on a daily basis that feel expansive, that feel good for you? On Thursday, the moon's going to move into your fourth house. So you might be focused on home. You might be solidifying a new place for yourself or just changing something about your home in some way, whether it's decluttering, whether it's setting up an intentional space to have a workout or a yoga, an area for you. It's really, you're making these shifts in a way that is calling for you to be more disciplined in your sense of self, your identity, your appearance, but also have those routines structured some way in your home so you can support yourself with them. Then on Friday, the moon is going to challenge Venus and Chiron in your first house. Again, there could be some wound that's triggered around your identity or your sense of self, your appearance, that again just prompts for that need to have a foundation in place to take care of it emotionally, to create space for yourself emotionally to look at that and maybe transmute that wound or trigger and step into a new version of you. Then on Saturday, the moon is going to oppose Pluto in your fifth and 11th houses. This might be, this might add tension emotionally to your community through a creative pursuit or passion that you've been wanting to do or wanting to create or wanting to have community around. And it feels like you're kind of torn between the two kind of thing in an emotional way. There might also be some mindset breakthroughs or some communication things that come up around that too, as we have Mercury and the Sun traveling together all week as well. And then on Sunday, there could be some release around that. There could be some action that you get to take after having a breakthrough or an insight or a revelation. As the moon moves over Mars in your fifth house and harmonizes with the Venus Chiron conjunction, it feels like everything that came up earlier in the week is going to get that push for action. So that's the week for you, Aries. Let me know how that resonated in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Taurus, we start the week off with the new moon in your second house of money. There might be some big shift right before the new moon revolving around your identity. We kind of talked about this for your horoscope last week. There's this big need to shift or innovate your sense of self, your appearance, or there will be this push to do so emotionally. And then when we have the new moon in your second house, there's this big focus on intentions around money and maybe even possessions as well. Like, do you need to purge stuff? Do you need to, hire help or have friends over and have like a yard sale or something to like really just reassess your possessions, your values, and what you're doing with all of those things? This might be a shift that is a positive, promotes a positive change in your reputation or your career as well. Saturn is in your 12th house now, so you really can't ignore any mental health concerns. There's a really big wake-up call in terms of that. So that is also going to be a focus of, the rest of the summer before Saturn goes back into Pisces. Then on Wednesday, the moon will move over Jupiter in your second house. So there could be some inspired idea that you get through a friend or a social encounter around how to make money, around how to implement that change you want to make in your career as well. And it might come through your community or a friend or something like a social outing or something like that. On Thursday, the moon challenges Saturn and Neptune in your 12th houses as it moves into your third house. So this could be a big, shift through conflict, through challenge with a conversation or a belief system or a style of communication that you've had that you need to really transform, that might have been negatively impacting your mental health, and you're realizing like, oh, I really need to have support around changing how I view this, whatever it is. Then on Friday, the moon is going to challenge Venus and Chiron in your 12th house again, kind of bringing up wounds and triggers maybe that were in your subconscious you didn't realize were still there, maybe even things you've been dealing with for like 5 or 6 years at this point, and they're coming up for you to really like clear them out finally. Any residue that's left from this healing you've been doing around whatever this thing is for you personally, it's going to depend on your chart, but whatever this is, it's like you're really clearing out everything that was left over from it, or maybe still left over from it, and giving yourself the support and self-care or nurturance you need to be able to do that. Then on Saturday, the moon moves into your 4th house and opposes Pluto in your 10th house. There could be some shift in your home or what you're doing with family or something like that that affects your career. It maybe feels like your home life, your family life is at direct opposition with how you want to change or move forward in something in your career. It could feel like there's conflict around that. There's tension, like this push and pull energy. But I do feel like as the weekend progresses, you will get more clarity around that and resolution, and be able to really act on that clarity and that resolution that the insights, the emotional breakthroughs that you're having on Sunday. So that's the week for you, Taurus. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Gemini rising, we have the new moon in your 1st house. That's going to be setting intentions around you, your appearance, your identity, how you want to move forward with all of those things embodied in this new version of yourself, related to everything we've been, that's been a focus for you the last couple months, and really like a whole year of this big expansion in terms of you and what's changed and what's started over in terms of like a cycle related to your identity, your appearance, your sense of self. That could be a big focus as we have Mercury and the Sun moving together at the time of this new moon as well. So again, like what needs to change maybe about your mindset, or what is a focus of your mindset, your belief systems as it relates to all of those things, and the changes you want to make there. Saturn is in your 11th house now, so there's a big need for you to be disciplined with supporting your community in some way, or vice versa, like having reciprocal support through your community, or really needing to establish a routine with how you share to your community, social media, etc. Is really prominent focus at this time. Wednesday, the moon moves over Jupiter in your 1st house again, putting that emotional look at the expansion of you in the ways you have been expanding your sense of self, your identity, your appearance. Thursday, the moon moves into your 2nd house, but before it really moves further into your 2nd house, it's going to square Saturn and Neptune in your 11th house. So there could be some friction or challenge between your community and money. There could be something that comes up there, maybe around possessions even, or I don't know exactly how that's going to show up, but it's almost like you're seeking support through some type of material security, and it feels like at odds with your community or something like that, or your friendships. Then on Friday, there could be more that comes up around that in an emotional way as the moon challenges Venus and Chiron in your 11th house. There could be some maybe betrayal from a friend that comes up in a really emotional way that you didn't expect, or like you were expecting, I don't know, you like maybe loaned money to somebody and they're not paying you back or something like that. I don't know exactly how this is going to show up, but it's something related to like your possessions, your money, and your friend groups. And it feels like there's challenge. It feels like there's uncomfy emotions and feelings that come up around that on Friday. Then on Saturday, the moon moves into your 3rd house as it opposes Pluto in your 9th house. This could present some big mindset shift. This could present some big philosophy of life shift, maybe through a conversation you have in passing, or at a social outing or something like that, that you didn't really expect to affect you in the way that it does. And it kind of shifts how you're viewing life. Maybe you had these hopes and dreams and you started taking action towards them, and you realize like, oh, that's not really actually what I want. And so now you're kind of like reassessing everything about what you want for yourself and your life moving forward. But there could be some clarity that comes, as the weekend progresses, as we get into Sunday and the moon moves over Mars in your 3rd house and harmonizes with the Venus Chiron conjunction. So it feels like maybe you could have some really healing conversation with somebody in your community that gives you clarity around whatever this is that you were feeling unclear about. And once you have that clarity, it's like, oh, okay, now I know what to do. Now I know how to move forward and I can act on it. So it's kind of like the challenges and the tension that was brought up earlier in the week's a little trivial as we get to the end of the week. It feels like, oh, okay, this is why this was all happening, kind of thing. So that's the week ahead for you, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Cancer, we start the week off with the new moon in your 12th house. This could put a focus of setting intentions around your mental health, what is needed to have a greater work-life balance kind of thing. Or maybe you're needing to speak up for yourself in ways that you have been avoiding, that have you maybe you have been negligent about, maybe even in your career, or that other people have been negligent about, and you're having to really like be like, hey, we need to talk about this, we need to address this, like we can't let this sit, and you're having to really speak up your needs, which feels a little uncomfortable around whatever this is. Will continue to be a theme as we get into Tuesday, and we have the Mercury Sun conjunction pretty much all week, or at least it's they're gonna be traveling together most of the week. So again, it's going to be a focus of this week that really progresses for you as the week progresses. And then on Wednesday, there's could be some big emotional expansion around whatever that is, like maybe you speaking your mind finally, and it really helps you to feel empowered about this situation. And it really kind of brings it to a close, and you feel like you can finally like move forward because you spoke your piece, and that's what this was all about. Then later in the day on Wednesday and into Thursday, the moon is going to be challenging Saturn and Neptune in your 10th house. So this could also, this feeling of being empowered could also bring up some residual feelings you didn't know were still there around it all. There could be a crying spell because of what happens earlier in the week. This is a really interesting progression of things for you, Cancer. I don't really know how to articulate it well. So hopefully this is making sense, and it might even be something you come back to this after the week happens and you're like, oh, because right now it's like it's really not making that much sense, but it feels like something happens, you need to speak your mind about, you feel empowered, and then something else happens and it like prompts this big emotional release that you didn't expect from all the series of events. That could come to a head as well on Friday as the moon challenges Venus and Chiron in your 10th house. It feels like too, as well as there is this need to speak up about whatever's happening, it's triggering a lot of wounds that were deep seated that maybe have been a focus even for the last 5 or 6 years of like needing to really process these things in a way that's going to benefit you moving forward, and maybe even bringing them into your career in some way, like whatever whatever's helping you process all of this right now, it might be something you eventually want to help other people with. And then on Saturday, the moon moves into your 2nd house and opposite Pluto in your 8th house. So this could put the emotional focus on your money, your resources, how all of these things that have happened earlier in the week are playing into that kind of thing. You could be looking at other sources for making money, side hustles, that kind of thing. And you might get some sudden clarity towards the end of the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, around that as the moon moves over Mars in your 2nd house and harmonizes with the Venus Chiron conjunction. It might feel like an intense kind of breakthrough, but there is a lot of harmony from it. There is a lot of like, okay, like an aha moment, and you understand why it all had to happen the way that it did, and you're moving forward with those realizations. So that's the week ahead for you, Cancer. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Leo, we start the week off with the new moon in your 11th house of community, of friendships, of social media as well. So you could be really feeling the need to share more of yourself, your story, your ideas, your information on social media or with your community in some way to really be seen for your knowledge. And that could be a big focus of the full moon Monday, or the new moon Monday and Tuesday. And the Mercury Cazimi that we have pretty much happening like all week. There is a lot of support for you to share your information and to really be putting yourself out there in ways that you have been feeling called to do. That could come to a head on Wednesday as the moon moves over Jupiter in your 11th house, and it finally feels like the inspired time to create, to share, to put things out there into the world that maybe you've been wanting to for quite some time. On Thursday, the moon moves into your 12th house and shifts the focus to your mental health. You might be feeling a little foggy, a little spacey as well, especially maybe later on Wednesday and as we get into Thursday. Depending on where you are in the world, this could really challenge and conflict like your philosophies of life, or how you're investing in education for yourself, or maybe some international travels you're wanting to do. There could be a really like emotionally challenging thing that comes up around that, maybe something in your subconscious you didn't realize was there. That could also be amplified on Friday, come to a head on Friday, where it prompts some big emotional release as the moon challenges Venus and Chiron in your ninth house. Venus and Chiron in your ninth house is really about you healing any philosophies of life that haven't been serving you, any belief systems or conditioning passed down from your education or your guardians growing up, or who was around you growing up, your family, your friends growing up, like those people that really passed on ideas to you that don't resonate with you. It's time to release those, and that's what this week is really going to show you. And then Saturday, that could prompt some big transformation in terms of your relationships or your sense of self emotionally, as the moon will be opposite Pluto in your first and seventh houses. That could also come to a head on Sunday as the moon moves over Mars. There could be some clarity that you reach over the weekend that towards the end of the weekend you start to feel like you can take action on because you have the answers maybe that you didn't have earlier in the week. So that's the week ahead for you, Leo. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Virgo, we start the week off with a new moon in Gemini in your 10th house. This is going to be a big focus on your career. What ways are you sharing yourself in your career? What ways are you showing up to your community in your career? Like, what do you want to be known for? Who do you want to be known as? What ideas and information do you want to share to build that reputation, right? And so there's a big need for you to set new intentions around that, just to get clarity on what that's going to look like for you. That could come to a head on Wednesday as the moon moves over Jupiter in your 10th house. There could be something that like you got clarity on, okay, this is what I want it to look like. These are the intentions I'm setting. And as the moon moves over Jupiter on Wednesday, in your 10th house, it could be like, okay, now I'm sharing it. Now I'm putting it out there. That could also result in you being really busy. So only saying yes to things that really align with you right now, that you're really excited about right now, that you really want to pursue right now, because it almost feels like there could be this energy of overwhelm if you're not diligent about, if you're not being, what is that word? Discerning about what you're choosing to do in your career. It also feels like this week there's a lot of healing happening in terms of your resources, how you're viewing resources, how you're allowing your, debt, taxes, like all kinds of things of those deep-seated things around money are coming up for you, especially on Wednesday as the moon, later on the day on Wednesday, as the moon challenges Saturn and Neptune in your 8th house. Is kind of like time to face the music around your resources and your beliefs around what's possible for you when it comes to money. Then Thursday and into Friday, the moon is going to be challenging Venus and Chiron in your 8th house, again, bringing up these wounds, these triggers around resources, how you're allowing yourself to receive support from the universe, from other people in your life, that kind of thing. Big focus of the week for you. And also communicating a lot of new ideas or information in terms of your career, maybe creating content you've wanted to, or that kind of thing, especially as we get into the weekend. Could feel like you receive clarity around that on Saturday as the moon is moving through your 12th house, but it also will be opposite Pluto earlier in the day on Saturday. So there could be a big emotional shift around whatever was coming up earlier in the week that you, as we get into the weekend, really start to get clarity around and take action on as the moon moves over Mars in your 12th house and harmonizes with the the Venus Chiron conjunction. And it's like, okay, you are not operating from those triggers. You're operating from the healed state, and you got the clarity, and you're moving forward with it. So that's what the week feels like for you, Virgo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Libra, we start the week off with the new moon in Gemini in your 9th house. This could be setting intentions around some international traveling, or new philosophies of life, ideas, information you want to share, put out into the world, related to like your mindset and your belief systems around them and what's been kind of shifting there and around all of that kind of stuff. This could especially come to a head on Wednesday, earlier in the day on Wednesday, as the moon moves over Jupiter in your 9th house. There could be some big expansion that you take action on, that you get an idea around, that you're just feeling motivated and inspired to share, create, put things out there. Then later in the day on Wednesday, there could be a challenge or conflict between somebody in your life taking accountability or responsibility for their negligence and your public reputation or your career. There could feel like there's challenges between those two things in an emotional way, but I also feel like it's going to prompt for you to like bring that into your career and bring that into like how you're helping people and what you're doing or creating or sharing. Then on Thursday, we're going to have the Mercury Cazimi in your ninth house. Again, this could really bring up some mindset things, belief system things that prompt you to shift maybe whatever was outdated there. On Friday, the moon moves into your 11th house. But before that, earlier in the day on Friday, it's going to challenge Chiron and Venus in your seventh house. So again, whatever came up Tuesday, Wednesday around, somebody else in your life, bringing some conflicts up for you that challenges your career. There could be some deeper wounds that come up, some deeper triggers that come up from somebody else in your life earlier in the day on Friday that really kind of challenge and conflict your career in an emotional way, maybe even maybe more intensely than what happened a few days prior to that, a couple days prior to that. Then later in the day on Friday, the moon's going to move into your 11th house and it will oppose Pluto in your 5th house. So there could be some emotional breakthrough as it relates to everything that's come up earlier in the week and how you want to share that with your community or what you want to create around those things. Like it's almost like this you're turning shit into gold, basically. Whatever like bad happened, you're turning it into a creative passion and you're transmuting it and alchemizing it and putting out there to not only like help yourself move through it, but help other people as well with whatever they're going through as it relates to these kind of collective themes that we're all in. Could get more clarity around that as the weekend progresses, especially into Sunday as the moon moves over Mars and harmonizes with the Venus Chiron conjunction in your 7th house. There could be a big positive emotional shift around whatever was coming up that was a little heavy or triggering really earlier in the week. There could be some big emotional breakthrough as well or innovation that you make with the clarity you received. Earlier in the week, you make that innovation from that breakthrough and insight on Sunday. So that is the week ahead for you, Libra. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Scorpio, we start the week off with the new moon in your 8th house. This could be you setting intentions really about resources, intimacy, vulnerability in new ways, or investments, taxes, debt, anything like that. Like, how are you handling your money? What do you want to set intentions around as it relates to the change you want to make there? That is going to be a big theme for you on Monday. It could be related to what you're doing for work or a shift you've been making there that you're really needing to like step up to the plate around and really commit yourself to. That if you have been avoiding it's like you can't avoid it anymore. You have to take action on it. Tuesday and into Wednesday, the moon will be moving over Jupiter in your 8th house. So again, there could be some inspired idea that you take action on as it relates to that, as it relates to what came up at the new moon or the intentions you set there. There could be some breakthrough revelation insight that you're like, oh, this is like the energy I was waiting for or whatever it is. With Saturn on Neptune in your 6th house, it's like, again, you can't avoid the responsibility you need to take in terms of your work and what you're doing to have a work-life balance in ways that benefit you and your spiritual gifts. Then on Wednesday, the moon is going to challenge Saturn and Neptune in your 6th house. It will be moving into your 9th house. So again, this could really bring up some belief systems that maybe were at play there, creating this avoidance or creating negligence in terms of what you're doing for work, that you receive clarity and breakthroughs around Thursday and into Friday, especially as on Friday, earlier in the day, Friday, the moon is going to challenge Venus and Chiron in your 6th house. So again, there could be some big emotional breakthrough or release in terms of your belief systems, conditioning, philosophies of life that were maybe blocking you from doing what you want to do or take action on in your career. Then that you will experience some big emotional shift and transformation there as the moon moves into your area of career later on Friday and opposes Pluto in your 4th house. This could be directly related to a shift in your home that you're making. It could support that, but it could also feel like there's what you want to do and what you're emotionally tied to in terms of your career and taking action on there is at odds with your home life or your family situation. But I feel like clarity will come as we get into the weekend, and you might be, taking some serious action towards whatever came up and whatever clarity you received, especially on Sunday as the moon moves over Mars in your 10th house and harmonizes with Venus and Chiron. So it feels like there's positive change and action towards whatever was triggered earlier in the week, and you're moving forward with that clarity and in a really embodied way. So that's the week ahead for you, Scorpio. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Sagittarius, the new moon in Gemini is happening in your 7th house. You might be setting intentions around relationship, around just other people in your life. There might be a big focus on how am I serving other people? How am I sharing my ideas, information? how am I socializing with people, right? There might be a lot that needs to be looked at there, that needs to be changed. You could be also really busy with interactions you have with other people, whether it's clients or friends or social outings or, maybe all of the above. And you're having to set intentions on what to be discerning around as it relates to that, because you can't spread yourself thin and do everything. On Tuesday, there could be more breakthroughs around that as the moon starts to move over Jupiter. Depending on where you are in the world and in your sleep schedule, it could be earlier in the day on Wednesday that you get these ideas or revelations or feel this emotional expansion in terms of your relationships. And then on later in the day on Wednesday, the moon moves into your eighth house and challenges Saturn and Neptune in your fifth house. There could feel like there's challenges around your resources or some sense of emotional vulnerability. And what you want to do as it relates to a new passion project or pursuit, it feels like if there's something you've been avoiding doing, you might be kind of forced or pressured to really do it and take action towards it, and maybe in an emotional way. There might be some big emotional breakthrough or revelation or clarity too that prompts that. That feels really challenging and uncomfortable at first. Then on Thursday, we have the Mercury cazimi in your seventh house, again, bringing up themes of like relationships and other people in your life. How do you want to be socializing? How do you want to be sharing your ideas and information? How do you want to be helping other people? That's really important for you to have clarity around this whole week. And I think you're going to get it as the week progresses for sure. And then that might come to a head on Thursday and Friday as the moon will be challenging Venus and Chiron in your fifth house. It feels like there's a lot of wounds coming up around maybe romance or sexuality or a passion project. Like I said, your creative, passionate pursuits. You might be feeling pressure from other people to act on them or to create them. And that can maybe trigger some stuff that comes to a head emotionally on Thursday into Friday, most of the day earlier on Friday. And then later on Friday, the moon will move into your ninth house and opposite Pluto in your third house. This could prompt for some big belief system shifts. This could prompt for you to really look at your mindset around these things and really look at, okay, what is the block here? What is the conditioning here? What's the limiting belief here that's holding me back from doing these things that everybody's calling me to do? You could get clarity around that over the weekend as the moon moves over Mars in your ninth house as well, and then harmonizes with Venus and Chiron in your fifth house. So it could be like you get the aha moment. You work through what was in the inner world blocking that, and you get the aha moment, and it's like, oh, this is what I need to do. This is how I take action. This is how I move forward, right? And you might actually be putting that into place on Sunday or implementing it on Sunday, or at least making the beginning moves around it on Sunday. So that is the week ahead for you, Sagittarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Capricorn, we start the week off with the new moon in Gemini in your sixth house of work, health, day-to-day routine. What needs to change about your schedule, maybe especially socializing. Maybe you've been feeling like more social in your work and you really need to like reel it back in. Or maybe you're really feeling called to share yourself in ways that you haven't in your work, but there does need to be some like intention around it. There does need to be some intention around how you're showing up, where you're showing up, and what you're saying when you're showing up, instead of just kind of maybe a scattered energy, if that has been the case recently. Tuesday and into Wednesday, the moon's going to move over Jupiter in your sixth house, so there could be a lot of expansion there. There could be a lot of, okay, I laid out a framework for this, and now I know what to do, and it feels like it's moving really fast because you laid the foundation for it, right? Then on Wednesday, the moon moves into your seventh house and challenges Saturn and Neptune in your fourth house. There could really be some emotional conflicts, challenges between somebody else in your life and what's been going on in your home or your living situation or your family. It could really, later in the week trigger a lot of wounds there from maybe subconscious beliefs or childhood, especially on Thursday, later in the day on Thursday and into Friday. There could be a lot of triggers and emotional wounds that come up from somebody else. That prompts for this really deep look at your subconscious, or like I said, limiting beliefs passed down from family or childhood, that kind of thing. There could be a big emotional shift there. But I think you'll get the clarity you need into Friday. As Friday progresses, the clarity will come as the moon moves into your eighth house and opposite Pluto in your second house. There could be a positive financial shift too that happens through the release of a wound or a trigger. It might even be through something that you set intentions around earlier in the week around your work that you're creating, that you're actually putting out there as the week progresses, and then it positively pays off financially. And that just might be a focus of your weekend, of like organizing all of that, getting that all together, and really taking action from that place of clarity, moving forward in like the healed state instead of like uh, the triggered inner child state that came up earlier in the week. And that could be a focus of your weekend. Like I said, taking that action from a positive place of like, okay, how do I want to move forward with this? What do I want to do about it? And from a healed place. And that will be a focus Saturday and Sunday. So that's the week ahead for you, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates, and I will see you next week. Okay, Aquarius, we start the week off with the new moon in Gemini in your fifth house. This is going to really put the focus on your creative passions and pursuits. What are you doing? What are you wanting to share? What do you want to create and put out with the world? And how do you want to share those ideas, that information, that creative project? Right, so that'll be a focus earlier in the week. There could be some big breakthrough expansion around that as the moon moves over Jupiter in your fifth house on Wednesday. It feels like there's some harmony between how you're expressing yourself and what's new that you're sharing, and like the ideas and information you're getting around all that. It's all supportive. So embrace the change. Don't stick with what you have known just because it's what you have known. Like, you're really being called to shift into something new that's going to majorly benefit you short term and long term, even though it's uncomfortable in the short term. On Thursday, the moon moves into later in the day on Wednesday and into Thursday, the moon moves into your sixth house into Cancer, challenges Saturn and Neptune in your third house. So Saturn and Neptune in your third house and the moon challenging it is like there's a wake up call around what you're doing on a daily basis, and what, especially as it relates to your work and your emotional tie to work. Like, there has to be some way that you are passionately, emotionally tied to what you're doing for work and in career. I mean, Scorpio rules your 10th house. You have to be obsessed with what you're doing. There has to be a passion behind what you do for work and how you make money. And you're maybe realizing a belief system has been blocking that, and making the positive shift that's needed towards it, especially as we get into Friday and the moon challenges Venus and Chiron in your third house again. They're asking you, this is asking you to really look at your belief systems around money, how you're making it, and that in your relationship with that in terms of what you do for work. Then on Saturday, the moon moves into your seventh house, opposite Pluto in your first house. This could bring about some big emotional shift through support somebody else in your life, or somebody else in your life could just bring up maybe all of these things that you've been getting clarity around in your mind, but they're really that physical example of it. And prompts for a transformation in terms of your sense of self, and how you're sharing you with the world. There could be more action that you take towards all that clarity you've been receiving on Sunday as the moon moves over Mars in your seventh house. Again, there could be a supportive person that is helping you to make this shift and change in the ways that you need to, that ultimately feel more aligned with your values and your self-worth, and maybe even positively changing your situation around money and healing some things there. So that is the week ahead for you, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates, and I will see you next week. Okay, Pisces, we start the week off with the new moon in your fourth house of home and family. You might be setting intentions around making changes in your home or your family life in some way. Maybe this is a move. Maybe this is just decluttering your house or setting your house up more to support what you're doing creatively, how you're expressing your ideas and your information with the world, or maybe even like, I don't know, wanting to be more social in your home or something. I don't know. Let me know how that resonates with you, Pisces, in the comments, because I feel like that was really specific. But you might get more clarity or feel more inspired around whatever that is on Wednesday as the moon moves over Jupiter in your fourth house. It does feel like there's some positive opportunity for money as it relates to this, maybe hosting like networking events, or working from home, working with clients from home, or something like that. Instead of like an office. However, that resonates in your actual life. It's going to depend on your chart. Then later in the day on Wednesday and into Thursday, the moon is moving into your fifth house of creative passions. And it's going to challenge Saturn and Neptune in your second house. So Saturn and Neptune in your second house, challenging the moon in your fifth house, is really like a wake-up call around your money, how you're making it, and what creatively you're doing to bring it in. This is about you needing to really be disciplined with a creative passion or pursuit, or spiritual one, to bring that money into your life in a way that's truly aligned with your passions and what you want to help others with, or just what feels like a creative or spiritual extension of yourself. That could come to a head on Friday as the moon challenges Venus and Chiron in your second house. It feels like, again, there's this big theme of money. And you need to really be honest with yourself about what you're telling yourself around money, what you're believing around money, and there could be something that is triggered as it relates to that that really prompts for you to make that change on Friday and into the weekend. I think you're going to get a lot of clarity around that and starting to really feel like, okay, I need to take action on this because I can't avoid it anymore. Then on Saturday, the moon moves into your, well, later in the day on Friday and into Saturday, the moon moves into your sixth house again, kind of putting that tension and pressure on what are you doing for work? What schedule, what systems, what routine do you have in place to be able to support your creative passions and the sharing of them? There could again be some a big breakthrough or shift transformation that's prompted because of this in your mental health and your mindset and your subconscious, maybe related to limiting beliefs from family or childhood or just past traumas in general that are brought up for you to look at and reframe on Saturday. And then it feels like Sunday, you work through that, you got clarity from it, and you're taking the action you need to support this change in this new chapter. So that is the week ahead for you, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. After doing these horoscopes, feel really excited about this week. It feels like everything that we've been really stressed about and going through comes to a head. We get answers around, we get clarity around, we realize like what needs to happen in order to move forward and like close out the cycle and the old and move on with the new. So I'm really excited about this week. I feel like I say that every week, but every week brings something different, right? It brings a slightly different energy than the week before, and it all builds. It's all a part of the movie that we're living. It's all a part of the story that is our lives that astrology helps us to understand the timing of. So that's what I have for you for this week. Let me know how your horoscope resonated with you in the comments. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!